Today, I thought I would try a little bit of a different format. I want to talk about all of the smaller stories in a larger, longer video that I didn't get to cover off on during the week, and also talk about the biggest news that happened this past week in the world of Xbox and just the larger industry. Let's dive into it right now. The first thing I wanted to mention is that Xbox is doing quite well in Japan. Now, I have to put on my headphones for this one because it is a video, but Gaming Insider, I believe, was the first person to make a story about this, but we're going to just listen to this part.
We've expanded PC Game Pass to 46 markets globally. And over the past 3 years, the number of PC Game Pass members in Asia has more than quadrupled. And PC Game Pass allows creators to bring amazing new experiences to these players.
Quadrupled. So we already know that Microsoft has been doing better than they've ever done in the Japanese markets. So this presentation during TGS was certainly a surprise for me. And it's awesome to hear that Xbox is doing well in this market because it is a big growth opportunity for them. And hopefully, you know, they don't do that rumored exiting the business if their sales don't get up. And I do think that's a rumor. I'll make a video about that for another day. But great. That's awesome news. Not a ton else to dive into there. It's just interesting that they continue to do well in Japan, and that is great. Japan is a huge market for them, definitely one that they need to grow into. And he talks a little bit more about it. Here's the article from Insider Gaming. For example, since the release of our Japan World Update for Microsoft Flight Simulator, nearly 15 million flights have been flown out of the Japanese airports in the game. Thanks to our innovations like Game Pass and xCloud Gaming, you can play Flight Simulator and many other games on handheld devices and mobile phones, in addition to traditional PCs and consoles like the Xbox Series X and S. What's interesting there is, like, one thing I really push back on that I see from the games industry so often, and just like people online, is that mobile phones don't count, basically. Mobile phones are just bejeweled. Mobile phones are just this and that. They're not. They're actually not. Mobile phones are basically, at this point, 360 games. And when they start developing for the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max line, they're going to be on the level of the PlayStation 4 with games like Resident Evil about to come out there, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village, the new Assassin's Creed game is going to be on mobile, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Division, and even Death Stranding. These impressive, amazing games are going to be mobile games. And I've been doing a lot of experimentation about the games that are running natively on mobile. So just long story short, these games are great, and Xbox is their first in the cloud gaming space with Project X Cloud, obviously. And I've seen a lot of people playing, you know, Starfield as an example, or even any of the PlayStation games via streaming on the PlayStation app on your phone. And you're able to just play console games right off of your PlayStation 5. This is a technology that is continuing to evolve, and it's interesting to see that the Japanese market has really dived into it. Now, where should I go next? We're going to go to Derek Strickland really quick. Game Pass to make $8 billion in revenue by 2030, Microsoft hopes. Microsoft hopes to grow Xbox Game Pass into a must-have subscription service that dominates the video game market with $8 billion revenues earned by 2030. And that comes from the leak, of course, in the FTC. Strickland's really good about this stuff. Microsoft estimates that Xbox could be worth $36 billion by 2030, driven primarily by game sales, microtransactions, and purchases made on console, PC, and the cloud. In fact, Microsoft expects Xbox to make $16.9 billion from transactions by 2030, which is more than the total amount that Xbox makes today. Now, you get more users, you're going to get more people making those transactions, and I do think there is a potential to get there. Now, he lays it out a little bit further here. According to the leaked slides, Microsoft expects to make $7.8 billion from subscriptions by 2030. To put that into perspective, Microsoft reports that it made $3.9 billion from subscriptions in financial year 2022, including Game Pass and Xbox Live. Within 6 years' time, Microsoft expects to effectively double subscription revenues. Now, there's a few things that they're already doing. They plan to, hello microphone. They plan to increase the price of the subscription services likely by 2030. And they've already done an increase. So I think we're going to get an increase once the Activision value add is included with any sort of subscription. I do believe that Microsoft will add like a package of some sort where you can increase the amount that you're paying every month and also get access to all of those Activision Blizzard games, including World of Warcraft. So let's say you pay the World of Warcraft subscription fee already. They're like, I'll tell you what, if you give us that $15 for World of Warcraft, we'll give you access to the entire Activision library. Everything on Game Pass is an additional, $12.99 right now. I think a lot of people would go for that, and it would be a smart upselling tactic, but we'll see how they end up playing it. If Activision Blizzard closes, I think they can get there quite easily, honestly. And with the rumored releases for 2024 that has everybody hyped, like a new Doom game, the Oblivion remaster, I do think that they get there. So do you remember the Gamers lawsuit? Well, our good friend Florian Mueller, friend of the channel, is mentioned in the Gamers lawsuit, who is also and that lawsuit is also being run by Jacqueline Scott Corley. Here's what it said when they asked to see his tweets and communications. Pending before the court is a discovery dispute joint letter. The court does not need oral argument to resolve the disputes. First, Microsoft shall provide the requested exclusivity information in response to interrogatory number 1 for all its games published after January 2012, 10 years before the proposed merger's announcement. Second, plaintiff's request for information regarding communications with Mueller is denied as the information sought is not relevant to any claim or defense in this motion. So sure enough, Florian Mueller responded to this because the Gamers lawsuit, quote unquote Gamers lawsuit, they're trying to get access to his tweets or something, or like his private communications with Microsoft. And he said, I tweeted about Activision Blizzard and lots of other topics at times when I had a consulting project going for Microsoft, as well as when I did not. It's a personal, non-monetized Twitter account I've had since 2010. I predicted the deal would close, and that's what's going to happen now. So it was funny. And a lot of people in the industry commented on this. Stephen Totillo said, odd Microsoft Activision side drama. A judge denied a request by gamers in so-called gamer suit to make Microsoft cough up any correspondence with prolific merger tweeter Florian Mueller. I never tweeted for hire, Mueller tells me. Just some pretty funny stuff in my opinion. And that's basically the long and the short of it. What else do I got here? Oh, and then I think he reacted to it. Hogue reacted to it. I've covered this suit before and talked of its slim likelihood of success, but by dragging in commenters like Foss Patents, who themselves have absolutely nothing to do with the economic injury these folks need to prove, it's smelling more of witch hunt by the day. Context, Stephen Totillo, to the tweet I mentioned previously. Friday, gamer lawyers outlined their request suggesting Microsoft might have a paid propaganda operation around merger, citing Mueller's previously disclosed Microsoft consulting. Microsoft denied it pays him to sway public opinion. Judge ruled for Microsoft request not relevant. What are they even doing with this gamers lawsuit? Like, I cited it before because they actually have some good arguments in there about how it could affect the market, but this is a waste of everybody's time. Tom Warren also chimed in. He said, the so-called gamers lawsuit against Microsoft for its proposed Activision Blizzard acquisition has always been suspicious. It has been mostly ignored because it was never truly clear who was behind it or their intentions. And today we get more unnecessary drama out of it. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff. I think now we should go to some of the bigger news stories from the week, because one of them was this story about the FTC, who is reviving the fight against Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Here's what they say over on FinanceYahoo.com. The Federal Trade Commission is bringing back its lawsuit challenging Microsoft's $69 billion acquisition of video game giant Activision Blizzard. The revived challenge, with the FTC filed Wednesday and is moving forward through the Commission's administrative court, comes after the UK's Competition and Markets Authority indicated it is close to approving the acquisition. So the CMA is done, the EU is done, everybody else in the world is done, and the FTC is like, I feel like we got a winner here. They don't. So they're going to bring it in-house to their own administrative hearing, or at least attempt to, because the judge still has to approve that going forward. Now, listening back, the first thing the judge asked was, did the two of you talk and try and come to some sort of determination that this isn't necessary? And James Weingarten said, our door is always open. Like, we want Microsoft to come to us. And Microsoft's like, we don't have to. There's nothing we need to offer you. We've addressed any concern already. There are no concerns. This is ridiculous. So I talked about this in a whole separate video, but I went back and watched that initial call, and I noticed that. And then I realized, you know what the FTC is actually doing here? What the FTC is doing is they want the same concessions that were presented to the CMA to be presented to them, so they can somehow still squeeze a win out of this. It ain't going to happen. They don't have to do that. They can just close over it before it ever goes to an administrative hearing. And then if it does go to an administrative hearing, it's going to be like, everywhere else in the world approved these concessions. It's ridiculous. You can go watch the full video on that one because I go through the rest of the article. But yeah, the FTC case isn't over anytime soon. Next one's about Jim Ryan. As you know, Jim Ryan is retiring. Phil Spencer reacted to this. Everybody reacted to this. But basically, he will be retiring in March 2024. Sony Group President CEO Hiroki Totoki will assume the role of chairman of SIE in October of 2023. And then in April of next year, right around when the quarter ends, he will be retiring. And in the interim, they are looking for people to replace him. Here's what Jim Ryan said in this piece. After 30 years, I have made the decision to retire from SIE in March 2024. I've relished the opportunity to have a job I love in a very special company, working with great people and incredible partners, but I've found it increasingly difficult to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America. I will leave having been privileged to work on products that have touched millions of lives across the world. PlayStation will always be a part of my life, and I feel more optimistic than ever about the future of SIE. I want to thank Yoshida-san for placing so much trust in me and being an incredibly sensitive and supportive leader. Now, a lot of people have talked about how this could actually be him being fired, but in reality, I don't know how old he is, by the way. I see some sites that say he's 55 and some sites that say he's near retirement. If he's near retirement, he's just literally retiring. So if he is 62, 63, he's like a millionaire, at least probably, with the checks that he gets in terms of bonuses and such. I have to imagine he is fairly well off. It makes sense. And having to do all that traveling and everything, whatever. My bigger worry is, what will the next person do when they come in? So we're all focused on Jim Ryan, and we've been critical of Jim Ryan. Well, some of us have. Some people have really liked what the outstanding accomplishments he's managed to achieve at the company. But long story short, he leaves an impressive legacy behind him. So really, really interesting stuff there. I am worried about who will succeed him. And I think that was the big one for the week. I could talk about the Sony hack. I suppose the last big one that happened over the last week was that the CMA approved the deal, basically, or they're leaning towards approving. New Microsoft Activision deal addresses previous CMA concerns in cloud gaming. The sale of Activision's cloud gaming rights to Ubisoft substantially addresses previous concerns and opens the door to the deal being cleared, the CMA said today. And the one thing I want to talk about was this Sarah Cardell comment. The CMA's position has been consistent throughout. The merger could go ahead if competition, innovation, and choice in cloud gaming was preserved. In response to our original prohibition, Microsoft has now substantially reconstructed the deal, taking the necessary steps to address our original concerns. It would have been far better, though, if Microsoft had put forward this restructure during our original investigation. This case illustrates the cost, uncertainty, and delay that parties can incur if a credible and effective remedy option exists but is not put on the table at the right time. Yeah, that's on the CMA. The CMA met with Microsoft and they talked about all this stuff, and that was never presented as an option. You think Microsoft wanted to delay closing of it? Absolutely not. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that was the last big one for the last, 7 days. Just looking at my YouTube, I covered that one. I covered a bunch of these. So be sure you check out all the videos. I'll link to the ones that I've covered in more detail on the description page. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you like this format, let me know. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Maybe this will be like the Sunday piece of content that I do. Like, I want to start doing more Reacts content, and I want to do the longer form recap of the week going into the next week. And I think this is a good way to give you guys weekend content and not overburden me in a crazy way. So let me know what you think of it. And members, thank you for supporting stuff like this. You're probably going to see this before anybody else. So thank you, members, for supporting this channel. Click that join button right down there. Basically, as soon as I produce these, I just make them live for the members, and then they're scheduled out through the week. So thank you so much to them. I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you for the next one. Check out the original post about Jim Ryan retiring if you want to see one other video right away, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.